So Miami,
Yeah, they're in big trouble,
what a bunch of false alarmers.
as
What,
Mark Jackson would say.
old Mark Jacko Jackson, AFL legend. Anyway, the Miami Heat
They're
are a
probably
bunch of
thinking of
false
the wrong Mark
alarmers.
Jackson.
Allow me to have this dance. He's a pretty bad commentator.
Oh yeah, the worst.
He's up there. Anyway, the Miami Heat game 3 definitely surprised us all, in a sense. I mean, we felt that they could have stolen the game, so it's not surprising that they won.
Yeah.
But their
Well,
performance was,
Butler just refused to go out. He he said we're taking one at least, pretty much,
yeah, he's
and
doing.
he took it.
He was doing Bronny a favor, keeping LeBron in the bubble, and well, you don't want your
Doesn't
dad
want the
following
ass
you.
whooping.
No, he's gonna be copping it when LeBum gets out of the bubble and goes home.
Oh yeah, smoking that pack.
Yeah, not good.
Anyways, so Butler had a career night in Game 3. 40 points, 11 rebounds, 13 assists. The whole offense was him running. Oh, it was like what LeBron did in Game 2, hunting for the switch. So Butler would have the ball, call for a pick, switch onto like KCP or Danny Green, Caruso, and he just attack. He took no threes and had 40 points. So it's all in the paint when he was just driving, attacking the lanes. And his ability to get to the line, it's underrated. I reckon
Yeah,
he's just under Harden with how well he can get to the line.
yeah.
He shot 12 from 14 from free throws as well.
He reminds me of a prime DeMar DeRozan in that sense. Just
Yeah.
gets to the line every time he goes in the paint, and could
He's
source
got like
it from the
probably
mid range.
the second best at drawing fouls.
Yeah, it's pretty
Obviously
gnarly.
Harden would be number one. So the Heat competed on boards, not like what they were doing in Game 2 where they got butchered on boards, especially offensive rebounds. Duncan Robinson, he's someone you got to highlight because he's just not settling for threes anymore. He's not forcing them. He's actually looking like a threat that can drive inside. Even if he's not scoring, he was driving it in and then kicking it out. At least he was not just doing those handoffs looking for a shot.
Yeah, he was.
So yeah, that's what I noticed in Game 3 as well.
Yeah,
Olynyk put in a good performance, 17 points, 7 boards.
keeping up with game 2.
Yep. What I also noticed when Bam was out is that with Leonard starting, Olynyk started, didn't he?
Olynyk
Did Olynyk
started.
start in Game 3?
I think he did. Yes.
Yeah. Well, regardless, with them coming on the court, it stretches the floor for Butler to drive in, so you don't have the paint presence of Dwight Howard when he started being there, or Anthony Davis being in there. So it just allowed Butler to go 1-on-1 after he got that pick.
Yeah, I remember in the fourth quarter of the third game, there were plenty of instances where Jimmy Butler would just go, right, I'm taking over this possession. I mean, there was
Yeah.
several possessions in a row that decided the game where Jimmy
He
Butler
had a
was
career
just
night.
scoring on kids like they were nothing.
Has a career high of like 50 against the Sixers, I think. But like it wasn't even the good Sixers.
Yeah, for
It
sure.
had no Ben Simmons,
No, this
no
was definitely.
Embiid. But
This is a memorable
is his
performance.
best night of his career. To do this again in the finals against the Lakers right now, yeah,
It's quite impressive what
that's
he
his
did.
best. Yeah,
Game 4, he tried to keep the momentum going. I mean, Jimmy Butler was one of the.
well the Lakers patched that pick and roll or that pick and switch thing quickly
Yeah, for sure.
by having AD on Butler the whole time, or not majority of the game. So whoever would try and put a pick on Davis, he'd just, nah, I'll go over you. Oh no, actually they went under. So they went under the screens, and they just allowed Butler to shoot, which they weren't worried with.
Well,
They
they
were just more
know
focused on the driving lanes.
he's a reluctant 3-point shooter, even though he
Yeah.
makes them from time to time. It's not his forte. It's not something he's extremely confident in.
He shot like 2 or 3 threes, but he hasn't hit one.
Good thing from Tyler Hero in Game 4. Tyler Hero not letting his confidence take a hit. Just kept shooting.
Yeah.
Had the
Shoot
best
through
game
it.
of the series tonight for himself.
How many did he drop today?
He got
tonight?
a Tyler Hero had a breezy 21 points, 7 rebounds, 3 dimes. And he, shot 44% from the field, 8 of 18, and 3 of 7 from 3, not bad efficiency. I mean,
For a rookie to have that confidence is pretty good.
it's pretty good, but the 3 turnovers, again, the evidence that he's still not the most comfortable ball handler and not
Yeah.
the brightest passer yet. And then Duncan Robinson, keeping up with what he did in Game 3,
He
just
was looking to attack. Yep.
manning up, working harder, fighting for the victory. It was good to see Bam come back as well. Just as we thought, though, Bam wouldn't be
He looked
100%.
At the start.
He looked good at the start, but as we said, he wouldn't be 100%. And sure, he was 6 of 8 from the field, but he had 3 turnovers, only 15 points, 7 rebounds. Whilst his impact was noticeable, it just wasn't enough. He probably would have been best for his long-term career if he just sat out this game as well. But I understand when you're in the finals, every game's a chance
you
to
got nothing
win.
to lose. Oh, yeah, you got to go all out. There's no tomorrow.
I was really I was shocked by the second most consistent player in Jay Crowder of the series for the Heat so far, having a stinker of a game efficiency wise, 2 of 7 from the field, only shot 3s.
Yeah.
At some point you got to go, right, I'm not hitting my 3s, I got to try and make a difference in another way, but he just kept shooting them and they just kept missing. It ended up not being the best thing, and then Olynyk had a quiet one. Nunn was just a flash in the pan, it seemed. He's not ready. 2 of 11.
Yeah, he hasn't done a lot since game 1.
And Iggy's looking old.
Iggy played well on the defensive side.
Yeah.
He was making sure Davis didn't catch it on the block where he's most lethal at in the post.
Iggy's
So he was making sure he caught it just near the 3-point line. He was edging him out.
Yeah, and once you're that far out, you can't. As Kevin McHale says, and it's a common thing in the basketball nowadays. Kevin McHale brought it up. A lot of players post up too high, and what that does is it means that help defenses can really quickly adjust to any of your post moves, and you're so far out that it's borderline pointless to try and score from there, unless you say Dirk Nowitzki, who just mastered that fadeaway jumper. So for AD, who is a great mid-range shooter, if you just hound him from that close, he's going to have problems. Of course, it wasn't enough. Anthony Davis in Game 4.
Well, what I took away from this game is that AD has put on a case for a Finals MVP, regardless of how many points he's dropped. On the defensive end,
4 blocks.
He shut down Butler. Well, he didn't shut down Butler, but he's reduced his scoring a lot.
Yeah, defensively, Anthony Davis has been huge. 4 blocks tonight. And although
he made his presence known.
Yeah, look, he didn't lead the game in boards and points, but he doesn't need to. He just needs to do the little things that win the game and go full out.
He still got his shot off with that dagger 3 that sealed the game for a 3-1 deficit.
And you know how 3-1s work.
Yeah. Ask the Warriors. Oop.
Ask the Thunder. Oop.
Shut up.
It's not a good place to be.
LeBron had his game. 28 points, 12 rebounds, 8 assists.
Offensively, he's probably man of the match.
But 6 turnovers as well.
Yeah,
he had 8 in Game 3. He needs to clean up on the passing.
He's been really... what I noticed when I watched him play is that he wants to push the tempo to stop the Heat zone and break it up, and it makes sense, but it's a real risk. Most of the time, as we've seen with the results of the games, it's worth. He gets points, he gets dimes, and they're winning games. But it comes at the cost of a high risk of turnover, and that's why we see such high turnover numbers out of LeBron, with the 8 last game and 6 this game.
KCP pretty much had the game of his season right now.
Definitely his most
important game of the season.
Yeah. Still not worth the money he's being paid, performance, but it was a big one.
15 points, but they were timely buckets. They came in at crucial times. Like that, I think it was a layup he scored.
Yeah, he did.
With under a minute to go. But he came in at big times. With 3 hit threes as well.
Yeah, not a bad game from old Kent. He did well. Surprising to see Dwight only play.
Dwight only
7
starts,
minutes,
which I find strange.
We see Anthony Davis' big presence and defense make such a huge impact. You feel like that with Dwight, who's one of the more, although he's older, yes, he is one of the more mobile bigs in the league at his size, and still one of the most athletic. I mean, it's crazy how capable he still is at this age. he's in his mid-30s now.
Yeah.
He, I feel like he could have a bigger impact with such a small team. I understand with such a small team that they're playing against in the Heat, you want to keep your team relatively small too to keep up on the defensive end.
Yeah, it's about matchups now.
But I still, with Bam coming back, I see no reason for Dwight to not be out there. I feel like Dwight could really...
I mean, the Heat today have had only Iggy playing center out there.
And Iggy's not even a reliable shooter.
No.
You can take the risk of leaving him open and
He's not that
play an extra
strong
big.
either, but he still held Anthony Davis's ground.
He did.
So I respect the Heat for that.
We have to respect the Heat's effort. Regardless, they lose two of their
3-1?
three most valuable
Series
players.
is probably over.
Yeah, series probably over, but they really fought, and they can look. If they lose, which is very likely, you're going to be cut. But they should still hold their heads high. They did well, and their team is relatively young. Most of their key pieces are young, and
they've got a very nice future ahead of them.
Jimmy's not going to fall off within the next 2 years. So the Miami Heat.
Neither is Bam. He's only going to get better.
I mean, he's one of the youngins. He's only going
Exactly.
to get better. So I think the Heat can look forward to a prosperous future. Will they win a title? I'm not sure. I'm not.
Your take on Finals MVP?
Anthony Davis to me is the Finals MVP.
Yeah.
I think LeBron's going to win it because the NBA's media is so triple-double crazy.
Wow, triple-double?
And
Whoa, rebound.
It's kind of sad, but, I just think Anthony Davis really deserves it. He's been the most impactful player in the series.
Yeah, easily.
Easily by
Always
far.
shows up on the big time.
He's been clutch.
He's
the
even
biggest
clutch
mismatch.
defensively. Can guard anyone on the floor.
He's the best two-way player in the series.
Yeah.
Takeaways from the Lakers from this series so far is that Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Danny Green, regardless of Kentavious' performance today, Danny Green and Pope were just a waste of money. And the other takeaway for them would be that Kyle Kuzma, he's not the third option they were looking for, and that they probably should be looking forward to moving him on, because with his youth and how he performed before LeBron got there, I'm sure a team is going to offer him a sizable enough deal to where it would only hurt the Lakers cap.
I believe he's going as well.
I think, yeah.
I don't think LeBron likes him after today.
No, Kuzma's on his way out.
Did you see it? Kuzma threw a bad pass to LeBron and Butler plucked it, went for a dunk, and LeBron had to try and chase it down. But, in that sequence, they had a replay. LeBron just looked at Kuzma and was like, come on, man. He even dropped the F-bomb.
I think
it's
Kuzma...
he's cracking the shits with him.
Kuzma's in trouble. I think, Markieff Morris, I think, has earned himself a contract extension this series.
Yeah.
Today he was very inefficient, but his ability to stretch the floor, pull out the defense from the paint, has been very valuable. And
You got to respect his jump shot.
Game 3, even though they lost,
his
he had a
jump
huge
shot
performance.
is just either air ball or swish.
Yeah,
It's so inconsistent.
he's either the best shooter out there or he's the worst. Exactly. I think Caruso is safe. I think LeBron, I think he's a big fan of
They need a player
Caruso.
like Caruso. Yeah.
And Caruso does not demand a lot of money. He's not going to be super expensive to retain. The issue with Rondo has been so valuable this series. As a Lakers front office, you got to be concerned.
Playoff, he's been valuable.
Oh, he's been huge, and so you got to be concerned how much money he's going to demand. I mean, he's in his 30s, and he's still not a super effective shooter. I mean, today, he only shot 1 of 7, 0 of 2 from 3.
Yeah, he was off.
Still 5 dimes, 7 rebounds. Still had a good impact, all in all, but probably hurt the team more than he helped it with his shooting. I feel like you want to retain him as the Lakers, but I think a team that's on the fringe of being a successful team, or maybe even a team that's trying to get into the playoffs, that's almost there. Think of a Milwaukee.
Clippers.
Think of a Milwaukee. Think of a Clippers. Think of the Nuggets, and
the Magic are in there.
And think of an Indiana, right? Indiana's going to be losing Oladipo, and they have too many players under contract who are valuable to go on a rebuild. They're still a playoff team without Oladipo. I mean, we saw it this year. He didn't play most of the year and they made it. They're going to be looking to keep their head above water. They're probably going to be looking at Rondo. You got the Denver Nuggets, who were so close this year with how well they played. They got to the West Conference Finals, came back 2-3-1 deficits. One of the few things that they were missing, I feel like, was another floor general. Sure, they got a
Off
solid
the bench,
they got a solid backup point guard, Monte Morris. He's a good shooter, but he's no playmaker. And I think they're going to be a team looking towards a Rondo, especially because they're going to have $30 million in cap space freeing up because of Paul Millsap's contract expiring. On top of that, I think Clippers wanted to reform their roster, and we've seen Rondo. Rondo's, it's less about loyalty for him anymore. It's much more about money lately. And fair enough, he's older, and you're going to get as much money out of the game as you can while you're in it. I feel like he could consider going to the Clippers as well, another team that need another playmaker. And I just feel like there's a lot of suitors out there for Rondo, and I think he might end up getting overpaid after this year. Of course, the opposite could happen where he gets offered a minimum contract and that's his only option. I think Dwight Howard's out of town though because they haven't been able to play him in the finals. As nice of a story it's been to have Dwight Howard play well and finally get a ring.
Yeah.
He was only a contributor up until the finals. He hasn't really contributed now anymore.
So starting, that's about it.
That's about it, but who do you think's happier? The guy starting for 7 minutes or the guy coming off the bench behind him playing 30? Ultimately, I think the Lakers are going to have probably the same roster next year. Very few changes. They might lose Rondo and they might lose Dwight Howard. But I'm sure they'll get some nice... Oh, and they'll definitely lose Kuzma. But they might get a few nice pieces back. So I think the Lakers' chance of winning the championship next year...
Could be the same.
It could be the same,
or
but
even better.
I think it might improve. Because they might get rid of somebody like a Dwight Howard and a Kuzma who both didn't make much of an impact. And they might even find a trade for Danny Green. I like Danny Green, he's a good bloke. And what he did in Toronto was awesome. And it's back in San Antonio. But he's out of it now. He hasn't been very effective for the Lakers his whole time there. Only a few solid performances throughout his whole year.
Lakers should win in 5. They should close out this game, or the series. But if worst comes to worst, Lakers in 6. I don't see the Heat winning from now on, or actually evening up the series, and that's what we all wanted, really. As a neutral fan coming into this series, you want a good series.
You want a competitive series.
You hate seeing one team just dominate the whole series, and unfortunately, it's been that way this year.
I mean, the Dragic injury and the Bam injury, man.
Yeah.
That's going to be a what if, I think. I think that's going to go down as a historical what if because this Heat team looked like they could beat anyone. You beat the most successful team in the league in the Bucks. You beat
in 5.
Arguably the second best team in the East outside of the Bucks in the Celtics. And on any given night, probably better than the Bucks.
It's highly unlikely the Heat will come back and win 3 in a row.
I don't see it, especially Dragic won't be able to come back.
See him in warm-ups today?
Yeah, he's not ready.
He's far from it.
And with Bam, I mean, Bam's going to be real sore after this game. And that's going to impact his next performance just as much as it did tonight with the pain he's already experiencing. Make sure you like and subscribe. We really appreciate the support. And why don't you tell us in the comments how you feel about both the Lakers and the Heat and what might happen as a result of this series.